Hello, American Patriots. Douglas Ducote here. Wanted to take a few moments to pop on and talk about some of the things that are happening right now. Some of you may have heard it. Others haven't had a chance to look at the news yet. Regardless, because it's the weekend, the news is pretty much not covering all the things that you would get Monday through Friday. But one of the things that's happening at the moment is in Pennsylvania, a judge has ruled against Trump. A federal judge has ruled against Trump and doing a recount. Here's the thing. Fox News put out a little thing earlier, probably about 45 minutes ago, and it's not here anymore, but it was looking, the way they had worded it was that it's over with now by the federal judge refusing to allow the Trump lawsuit to go forward. It opens the door for Biden to win. Now, once again, that's the news media saying this bullshit. So what they're not telling you is they knew this was going to happen. All right. This is not rocket science. It's not something that just popped up and came at them not being aware of. What it will do is set up a Supreme Court decision. All of this, whether it's Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, all the close and contested states, it's going to end up at the Supreme Court. Now, when is that going to happen? We're not going to see it happen. I'm pretty sure we won't see it happen before Thanksgiving, but we will see it happen before Christmas. Almost 100% sure the Supreme Court will have to look at this, because right around the corner in January is when the new swearing in should take place. While we're talking about President-elect, supposedly Biden, since the news media can call these elections instead of the people that are responsible for it, I figure I may as well just say that from here on out, I will call myself President-elect. How about that shit? And why don't you do the same thing? We can all call ourselves President-elect. I'm just as much a President-elect as Biden is at the moment, because this entire race was a cluster from hell when it comes to, think about this for a moment. The night of November 3rd, right around midnight, Trump's got this thing in the bag by 700,000 votes. And these key states decide we're going home for the night. We're going to send our people home. It's just too late. What? And then to come back the next day and all of a sudden, wow, look at all these votes we found for Joe Biden, and reverse it? Bullshit. You know it is. I know it is. What's going to happen when it gets to the Supreme Court? Your guess is as good as mine. But what I do hope happens is that they will look at this voter fraud that Giuliani and the team is going to show the Supreme Court, and it will be enough evidence that the Supreme Court will decide that, and they have the ability to do this, that there will be recounts in these areas, or better yet, let's just redo the vote again in these particular swing states. And this time, not push poll watchers that are Republicans out the door. Or when a federal judge says that they can get within 6 feet, not move back the people 6 more feet away from them, or 12 feet, or make them stand on the other side of the room. That's the kind of things that have people like me and many other supporters of the president going, wait a minute, if you don't have anything to hide, why are you doing it this way? Why are you turning this into some type of a bad reality TV show that we're never going to recover from at the rate we're going? So, and again, look at, the Democrats and the left keep spewing this ideology that for the first time ever in history, we have a president not conceding and not willing to accept the will of the people. All right. Of all people to talk about hypocrisy, think about this for a moment. The left and the Democrats never once accepted President Trump as the president of the United States. Never, ever. In fact, before the election took place, there was a coup attempt going on. There was an ongoing process known by Obama. We know this now. It's factual information. By the FBI, by the Department of Justice, to go down witch hunt after witch hunt after witch hunt, looking for shit that they knew didn't exist. In the beginning, there were FBI agents that looked at the original Steele dossier and went, this is bullshit. But no, the higher-ups pushed it. And throughout Trump's entire presidency, there's not been a day go by, hell, not an hour go by, where he hasn't been under continuous attack from the left and the Democrats, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS. It is ridiculous. And they continue to push that he's not a legitimate president. Members of Congress on the Democrat side came out saying horrible, mean, nasty things about this guy, our president. Whether it was Maxine Waters or Nancy Pelosi or AOC or Rashid Tlaib or Ilhan Omar or Anita Presley, all of them have constantly said negative things, put out absolutely no merit BS about a sitting president from before the election all the way up to as we speak. They wrote the book. They wrote the book on what it means to not concede, to not give in. The Democrats wrote that book. It's their doings. To this day, Hillary Clinton still believes she should be in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Still believes that she was the right person and that the election was stolen. The night of November 3rd, when Trump's up 700,000 votes, it was Hillary Clinton that sent out a tweet to Joe Biden saying, do not concede. Don't do it. Why do you think that is? This criminal enterprise that the Democrats and liberals have manufactured is pretty damn big. It's something that I've never seen it in my 58 years on planet Earth. I pray that as we move forward, no other president, regardless if it's a Democrat or a Republican, no other president has to spend their entire presidency under this much hate and just absolute lawsuits being thrown, allegations being thrown, just, and the man did it for what? He's president. Why? It's not for the money. Why does he need this headache? Why does this man who has billions, why does he need this constant attack? He donates his salary, for crying out loud. Oh, he's a Russian agent. He's a Russian asset. It's and since the election, we found out who the real Russian assets are, who the people really colluding with foreign governments were. Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton. And here we have a guy who has done everything in his power to help this country and all people of this country for the sole purpose because he loves this country and he loves what this country enabled him to do and his family to do. And he wants to see that same thing. Everybody have that opportunity. If you take the left's rhetoric out of the equation and what the Democrats are saying out of the equation because it's not true, then you see exactly what this guy's done. You see that he's done more for all Americans than any president before him. You'd see that for the African American community, Black community, however you want to call it, all across this country, Hispanic Americans, he has set this up for just the best that they've ever experienced. Ever. No president's ever done this. But when you're constantly attacked with lies, it overshadows that. It puts all the good stuff away. When he's trying to stop the drugs and the sex trafficking at the border, and you've got AOC and Alejandro Mar down there talking about, the border agents were sexually assaulting us and we felt intimidated because they had scary guns. I mean, really? Why is he building a wall? For us, so that not another single American becomes a member of the angel families. The employment before COVID, if COVID had not happened, think about this for a moment. If COVID had, regardless of what you believe COVID is or isn't, if it hadn't happened, where would we be at right now? That was just one extra thing for them to throw at this guy. When he didn't want to shut the country down, they said how horrible he was. He didn't care about lives. Then he shuts the country down and they talk about, how horrible he is. He's not letting people work. He doesn't care about lives. It didn't matter what he did. So, against what the science was saying, yes, he reopened the country because we were starving ourselves out as a country. And he knew from what the science was saying that this is really no different than a bad case of the flu. If you have underlying medical conditions, the flu is going to probably kill you. If you're in your 80s or 90s in an old folks home, the flu's probably going to kill you. You're going to get pneumonia from it and other things. He had that information. He had the information that, for the most part, young, healthy adults, this isn't going to affect you at all. But the left and the Democrats don't give a shit. He's wrong for doing it. So what's Joe Biden say he'd do? Oh, he'll shut the country down. He will make mass mandates for everybody. Well, wait a minute. When Trump talked about doing that, he was the bad guy. So now Joe Biden's come out in just the past 24 hours and said that he won't actually shut the country down unless the scientists tell him that's the only way to get rid of COVID. And then as we're getting ready for Thanksgiving next week, all of a sudden now, we're being told by the left, not the president, not the Republicans. No, a scare tactic has erupted in only Democrat governor states that we're canceling Thanksgiving. We're going to cancel Christmas. You can't go out and get together with your family because you're going to spread COVID. If you get together with your family, then you don't care about your family. That's the narrative they're putting out there. Some states, they've even said that they're going to have law enforcement enforce this. Well, first off, that's absolutely impossible. Can't happen. But regardless, there ain't a law enforcement agency that's come out yet and said, yeah, we will enforce it. They've actually come out and said, go pound sand up your ass. We're not going to do this. We don't have the manpower to do this. And you got governors like Como, and just to mention one, that's going to get some kind of reward for his response to COVID when he let all these people, elderly people, die. I couldn't make it up if you tried. So, damn it if you do, damn it if you don't. It goes back to something that I heard around the beginning of the Trump presidency. I've repeated it a few times. I don't know who came up with this, but I thought, man, this is so freaking accurate. And that is that if tomorrow the headlines of the news were Trump can walk on water, just like Jesus Christ did, there can be video of it. Him walking across a freaking lake. What's the headline going to be of CNN and MSNBC and the liberal media? Oh, Trump can't swim. I mean, that's how against him they are. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what he does or what he says. It's wrong. Even when he's doing something that they agree with, they find a way to twist it and turn it. It's a sickness. These people on the left are sick, twisted, and absolutely uneducated. And many of them aren't uneducated as far as schooling is concerned. They're just freaking idiots because they only allowed CNN and MSNBC and the liberal media to infiltrate their damn pea brains. And they didn't look at the bigger picture. They didn't look at other media. They didn't listen to anything that was being said by the president or those that support the president. The journalists didn't do their homework to follow up on all this stuff. No, didn't do none of that shit. And the journalists kept pushing a false narrative. No different than what Black Lives Matter's done, what Antifa's doing, what the NFL football players have done, and now basketball and baseball and you name it. They've ruined all freaking sports. And now, thankfully, they're suffering the consequences for it. I mean, for the first time in American history, the revenue coming in for national professional sports teams has tanked. I mean, like never before tanked. Because enough conservatives and Republicans went, I'm not supporting this shit. And speaking of NFL players, I'll share this with you real quick because I just thought this was freaking funny. One of my sons sent me he's an airline pilot, and I don't know where he's at tonight, but he's in between hubs somewhere, and he sent he likes to play the fantasy football. And he sent me a text. He says, for some reason, Colin Kaepernick is now listed as a player you can add to your team in fantasy football. So as a joke, I picked him up, and I'm now submitting trade proposals for him to my conservative friends that play fantasy football, which is just the kind of stuff that my son does. It's the kind of stuff that he's watched his dad do when it comes to, trying to get a laugh out of people. And God knows we need a laugh these days because shit is so freaking absolutely nuts. But anyhow, the fight's not over by a long shot. Once again, here's when I started the video off, when I was looking for the original quote that Fox News had put out. Here it is. I just found it. Pennsylvania judge throws out Trump lawsuit, clearing way for Biden win. That's what Fox News put out. Now they've updated that, although they've left that story still stand. And 30 minutes ago, they put out fight not over. Trump questions Biden transition moves as president voter fraud battles continue. But why'd they put out Pennsylvania judge throws out Trump lawsuit, clearing the way for Biden win? Fox is done. Stick a fork in them. They went from being for years now, well, not just under the Trump administration, under the Obama administration, under the George Bush administration, for years, Fox News has been the #1 cable rated television news program in existence, dominating everything out there. And they just shot themselves in the foot. Why would you do that? What was it? Maybe 4 or 5 days before the election? They just did a 180 and turned on the man? They've been the only ones supporting him. So, Reince Priebus reacts to Wisconsin Dems rule change. Try following Trump recount falling. You can't make this up, he says. Because we want them all recounted. Because we know the fraud was there. We know that the machines that were being used had a way to flip votes. We know it was happening. It's been exposed now. Let's fix it. we're finding all these other ballots. Even in Georgia, after the state of Georgia has already come out and said, we're giving it to Biden, within hours of that statement, they found thousands more votes, ballots that were just stored away, put away somewhere in a closet. It's like, and it was so bad that they fired the person in charge of the entire voting system for the state. Let me see if this has it right here. I think it's Georgia certifies Joe Biden victory in 2020, presidential elect. And then they find all these extra votes, ballots that were just not used. So much so that the guy in charge of elections, you're fired, you're out of here. Then did they go back and change it and go, wait a minute, we have a problem, obviously, because we just fired this son of a bitch that's in charge of it. No, they haven't. But it doesn't matter. Georgia can say whatever the hell they want. They're not the ones that make this choice. I don't know what's going to happen in the Georgia Capitol tonight. It's 10:33, and none of the news media is going to actually cover live stuff for us at the moment. I mean, they may if it gets really unruly, but a few thousand pro-Trump people have showed up and to do a march, I guess kind of similar to what took place in Washington, D.C. over the weekend. And now a bunch of these counter-protesters have shown up. And this could turn into a bloodbath. Who knows? I don't see anything positive coming out of it. And the other thing that I want to talk about real quick, and I'll probably do a video on this in more detail, maybe tomorrow. And because I don't have all the details that I need to really talk in depth about this story, but there's a deployment happening right now as we speak, where we're deploying a bunch of B-52 bombers. I think they're coming out of Minot Air Force Base, going to the Middle East. Somehow Iran has started some more saber rattling bullshit, probably because of what's happening with the election here. And Trump went, fuck it. Let's get a plan. You know, maybe it's just to show a force. Maybe because, you know, we announced we're pulling out of Afghanistan, or we're going to pull some out of Afghanistan. We're going to pull some out of Iraq. We're going to pull some out of Syria. Now, let me, if you don't know this, if you're not really keen as to what the military does, especially what we've done since the Gulf War, let me put it to you this way. Since Desert Storm was the first time that the United States used our National Guard like we use our active duty. And then we learned that they weren't trained to the same standards. And then that was a big learning curve. And we went back to the drawing board, and it was like, how do we fix that? And so now, over the past several years, the National Guard is trained to the exact same standards and kept up on everything the active duty is doing. So a National Guard unit can deploy anywhere in the world and do the exact same thing that the active duty folks can do. So when you hear about all these troop withdrawals that are taking place, the small print is, yeah, they're bringing back the troops and they're replacing them with National Guard. So we're not leaving behind a bunch of people to be slaughtered. There's a few thousand U.S. forces right now in Afghanistan, and we're supposed to take out half of them, leaving the rest to be slaughtered by the Taliban? No, they're being replaced. And this is something that Obama did, okay, as well. It's nothing new. George Bush did it, okay? George Bush Sr. was the first person to send as many active or as many National Guard as he did on active duty orders when Desert Storm happened. I remember I was active duty at the time. I was stationed in Fort Hood, Texas, where CH-47 Chinook unit. I was a flight engineer on the Chinooks, for those of you that don't know. And our National Guard asset deployed with us. And we couldn't use them, really. I mean, we used their aircraft. Some of the aircraft we used to get parts off of if we needed. We were spending a lot of time trying to help them train up to task in the freaking theater of operations, which is not where it's supposed to happen. So a lot of their crews couldn't even fly. All right. They could do aircraft maintenance work and things like that, which was needed, but they weren't up to the same standards, whether it was on night vision goggles, whether it was on aerial gunnery, whether it was on sling load operations, fat cow missions, all the different things that we did with our helicopter. They just weren't up to the same standards. So instead of getting people injured or hurt or losing equipment, they didn't get utilized that much. They did towards the end a lot more because over time they started being used a lot. And then you're going to learn at that point. But today, all that's changed. And when somebody says they're in the National Guard, let me explain something to you. If you don't know this, they're as trained and as qualified as anyone in the active duty section, because that was the learning curve we had during Desert Storm. So that's a good thing. But anyhow, back to the original, what I was saying was, I don't know exactly what Iran did that caused our president to send all these B-52s over there. I don't even know where they're going. I know where I think they're going, but I'm not going to share that, even if I knew for a fact they were going there, because that's OPSEC type stuff. And then nobody should be talking about where they're going to be flying out of or stationed out of, although it's not too hard to figure that out. If you know anything about overseas and where to find the information, hell, it's on the internet, for crying out loud. Another thing that I'm going to be talking about in the very near future is the squad. And especially as you would think they would just be all happy and cheerful. And I mean, they are, that supposedly Biden's going to win, but they're already attacking him for the people he's choosing for his cabinet as he's getting ready. All right. So they're already showing that they don't like him. They didn't want him to be there anyhow. I mean, let's just face it. Every one of them in the squad supported Bernie Sanders. That's who they wanted. They did not want Joe Biden there. And why? Because out of all the people that were running on the Democrat side to become the person to go up against Trump, Joe Biden was the only person that, number one, had experience being in that form of government, being obviously the former vice president. And the next thing is that he was more leaning right from center than left of center. And they don't like that. They want full-on socialism. That's their plan. That being said, he's choosing some people right now that are radical left. They're not radical left enough for the squad, AOC wants to know where she's going to go. So does Ilhan Omar. So does Rashid Tlaib. They want to know where they're going to get put. They want that slot somewhere in the White House, somewhere in the administration. You know they do. And if it comes to that, and Biden gets in there, God, I hope he doesn't select any of them to do anything. They shouldn't even be members of Congress. That's how radical they are. They should not have anything to do with the United States government, period. But yet they're still there. Because the Department of Justice and the FBI aren't doing their freaking job. The higher ups that we know have been compromised. We saw it. It's all played out over the past 4 years. The actual criminals that were in the FBI, James Comey and Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, and there's just a whole freaking shitball of them. So there's going to be no investigation into them. I mean, Ilhan Omar, for those of you that don't know, and Rashid Tlaib didn't take an oath to God to protect the Constitution. They didn't swear in with their hand on the Bible and take an oath to God. Nope. They swore in on the Quran and they took an oath to Allah. And if you know anything about the Quran, you know anything about Allah, it ain't American values, my friends. It's just the opposite. And the radical things that they've said, in some cases, is absolutely scary. For instance, you know, one would think that Ilhan Omar would be grateful for America for rescuing her and her family from what could easily have been death from, you know, growing up in Mogadishu and over in Somalia. They were refugees. And we brought them to America. And their daughter grows up to be this radical, American-hating person who has said things that are so anti-American, it's scary. The whole Black Hawk Down incident that took place over in Somalia, she compared our military troops that were there to being terrorists, not the people that shot down the Black Hawk and drug our dead bodies through the street. No, she called the troops, our American troops, terrorists. And she's got away with it. Rashid Tlaib just recently said that every time she hears about the Holocaust, it brings a smile to her face. She's an anti-Jewish, 100%, anti-Israel. Brings a smile to her face, makes her feel happy, a warmth in her chest when she thinks about the Holocaust? Are you fucking kidding me? This is a sitting member of Congress. The news media won't share that with you. They don't want to share that because they don't want to be labeled as racist bigots for calling out what she said. You don't have to make this up. It's on freaking YouTube, for crying out loud. Just type it in the search engine and watch her say it. Referring to 9/11 as, oh, just some people did something. No, radical Islamic terrorists flew airplanes into buildings and killed innocent men, women, and children. There's no fucking some people did something. What are you going to do? The FBI, obviously fucking nothing. We know that Alihan Omar gets a divorce from her husband, and we find out that it appears from things that were exposed and brought out that she married her brother to get him here into America after the family was here, and then divorced the brother and was married to somebody else before and never divorced them when she married the guy that she just divorced, and was having an affair with one of her campaign managers who owns a firm that was doing marketing, promotion, and things like that for her campaign, and they paid him millions of dollars. That's her husband. Now, from everything I've gathered from this little deal, some of it was actually legal because of the loopholes that they used. But why wasn't there an investigation into this? Why wasn't there an investigation into her brother in that deal? Why is there an investigation going on with her husband and campaign finance? If she was a Republican, you can bet your ass there'd be a special counsel investigating that shit along with the FBI. There'd be a Robert Mueller on freaking steroids going after her ass if she was a Republican or conservative. But no. And at least once a week, something pops up where they've said something or done something that is so freaking anti-American that if it was just said or done 25, 30, 40, 50 years ago, treason. Your ass would be up shit creek. Treason. To compare American military forces to the evil ISIS terrorists, and you're a sitting member of Congress. And then there's all those on the left and the Democrats, when I've done videos about it in the past, that, slander me, or anybody on the right that's done this. We talk about them, we're bigots, we're lying, we're making this all up, because they're too stupid to look it up themselves. It just seems too shocking. and it is. Okay? It is hard to believe. If somebody had just said this to me and I hadn't actually seen it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears, I'd probably think it was bullshit too. But it's not. It's facts. That's how they feel. They hate everything America stands for. And I can't, you need to look no further than the oath. Look no further than the oath as they took to swear in to protect our country, our Constitution. It's all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help me God. And in their case, so help me Allah. How the fuck is that possible? How? Even the dogs are pissed off at that. I'm sorry. I stopped talking about the bitch now. Anyhow, so enough of those freaking nut jobs. I want to jump over here real quick to another place that I like to view to see the hateful bullshit they're spewing. Let's look at the headlines right now of CNN. Federal judge dismisses Trump campaign Pennsylvania lawsuit. Breaking news. Of course, we already know that. Here's the real danger in Trump's charade. Of course, I'm not going to click on it. Trump tweets about election results and skips sessions on pandemic. The only way Republicans can lead again, in the opinion. Left the dumbfounded CNN anchor on Geraldo Rivera. Silence is not an option. Don Lemon. You know, I know I'm not alone in how I feel. I know that sometimes I get very animated and very I get upset. It's disturbing. It should be disturbing to all Americans. But for those of us that have ever served in the military or in law enforcement where you took an oath to defend this nation, it's even more disturbing, if you can imagine that. When you've gone places, done things, seen things, lost brothers and sisters, whether they died in combat or disabled for life. The left, who's infiltrated the Democrat Party and completely ruined everything that it ever was, they hate American troops. They would never take an oath to protect this country. They would never serve in any type of level to protect this country because they hate it. They won't fucking move away. Oh no. They just want to stay here and keep spewing the hate. Well, you know, some people on the left, I get it. They don't have the money to move away. You know, they can't afford it. But the ones that spew the most hate, they can. Those NFL players, Colin Kaepernick, what the fuck's he still here for? You got millions, pal. Go buy yourself something in another country. Get the fuck out of America. Why are you here? Rashid Tlaib, why are you here? AOC, Alejandro Mar. Well, I know why they're here, because they want to radically change this country. They want to piss on the graves of American service members that have died for this country, because they don't believe we're an exceptional country. Alejandro Mar, when she came from Somalia, she was a little girl. She hasn't been back there. They haven't spent any time in the Middle East. And when they did, it was as congresswomen, where they were protected and guarded as they went through their little tour just to get it checked off in their box. All these people that spew the most hate about America have never left America. But yet they know how horrible we are. They've never been anywhere in their life but here. But yet they want to say that America is not exceptional. Although more people try and come to America than any other country on this planet. Why is that if we're so freaking bad? Yes, some of our freedoms are being screwed with right now. I get that. It pisses me off, as it does you. But even with that happening, we're still the best country on planet Earth. I feel I can say that because I've been to many of them. I've been all over Central America and South America, all over the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Southwest Asia. I've served this country with honor all over the freaking globe. I've seen it, what they're like in those other countries. And I'm here to tell you there is no other country on this planet better than America, or that has the melting pot for everyone. Regardless of how many freedoms our government may step on us with, we still have more freedoms than any other country on the planet. Do we have some racism problems happening in America? Sure, we've always had that. Is it to the degree that it used to be years ago? No. Is it better than any other country? You bet your ass it is. Let's see, Black Lives Matter. Book your ass a plane ticket and go to Africa and see what happens to you. They will fucking kill you there. Because in their minds, you're nuts. But you've never been there. You've never been anywhere. You think police brutality is bad here? Because 2 or 3 times a year, a cop makes a split-second decision and has to take a life that in some cases may turn out was a bad shoot. Go to fucking Venezuela. Go to Saudi Arabia. Go to Iraq. Go to Afghanistan. Pick a country. I don't give a shit. Pick one. And tell me our cops are bad here. If you add up all the cops around planet Earth, we've got the best damn system ever. Our justice system's fucked. I agree. I've talked about that in many videos. But guess what? Even with the problems we have, it's better than any other country on planet Earth. But they don't know that because they've never been anywhere else. And they just listen to the hateful shit that's spewed, once again, by CNN and MSNBC and all the liberal media outlets that are out there. And then you have all the social media platforms, not all, but the big ones, right here on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, being run by liberals and censoring conservative Republicans, taking away our voice, but not doing it to those on the left. Anyhow, that's all I have for tonight. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the things that are happening currently. More to come on what's happening with the B-52 deployment. I can see the writing on the wall right now with CNN really soon, probably before the night's over with. There's still 59 minutes left for CNN to come up and say a wag the dog thing is fixing to happen with us and Iran. Trump's got us out of more fights that could have easily happened than probably any president has by choosing not to go that route. If he chooses not to do it, he's a no good son of a bitch who doesn't care about America. If he does it, oh, he's a no good son of a bitch. Why would you do that to this poor country? It goes back to the whole thing. It doesn't matter what he does. It's still the same whistle. It's still horrible, and there's no easy way out for him. There never will be. Even if he's our president for the next 4 years, if the Supreme Court does say we're going to recount all this shit, and the fraud does exist, and Giuliani and the group can prove it, and the Supreme Court intervenes, and we've got Trump for 4 more years, it's going to be 4 more years of freaking hell for the man, because they're not ever going to let up. Now, if Biden's in, no matter what you say about him, you're going to be a racist bigot. That's how they work. Only their freedom of speech is authorized. Not yours, not mine. Anyhow, folks, hope you're having a good weekend wherever you're at. Hope that you're safe. And if you have time to spend with your families, I hope you're able to do that. Just remember, and I said this, my first video after the election, I said, regardless of who gets put into office, the sun will still rise. We will still have to fight, especially besides just the presidency right now, the election in Georgia, the runoff. We lose those 2 seats, we're screwed. Then radical change comes to America if Biden becomes the president. Or hell, if we lose those 2 seats with Trump as the president, radical change will come, because they will have the Senate and be able to impeach the guy on some bullshit that didn't exist. Anyhow, thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate it very, very much. If you haven't done so, go over to DouglasDucote.com and sign up for the newsletter. We've got, as I speak, we have somebody working on the website right now to get it back up and running properly. You can follow me on Parler. I'm on Parler now. I'm on MeWe. What is all the things that you guys told me to go to? And I did. Rumble. I went to Rumble. I went to WIMKIN, WIMKIN, and started accounts there because I'm banned for life on Twitter, and I got kicked off of Facebook, and means I'm doing something right. I'm over the target, and I will continue to be over the target, and I'll never stop. Well, I'll stop one day. I'll rest when I'm in a coffin. Until then, I will keep exposing the left, and I will keep exposing the Democrats. And if you're new to this channel and you don't know it, I've got the ability to talk about the Democrat Party because I used to be a Democrat. My family were all Democrats. Everybody here in the South when I was growing up were Democrats. And this party, the Democrat Party, changed when the liberals infiltrated it and turned it on its head. It is no longer the party of JFK. It is the party of radical socialism, communism. It's a destroyed party. And sadly, the youth of America today, those that are now voting and those that will be voting in the next 4 years, don't know. They don't know about what happened to this party because nobody talks about it. But people like me that used to be a Democrat that say, if you vote for those son of a bitches, you've got a problem. You don't like this country. And that's the fact. It is what it is. You hate police. You hate the military. You're for chaos in the streets. That's what the Democrat Party stands for now. It's horrible. It's disgusting. And one way or the other, one thing that's sure, one thing that's definitely positive is change will happen. Anyhow, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, our president, and our country. God bless each and every one of you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll be seeing you soon. Take care, everyone.